How's it going, guys? Welcome into Overtalk. We're on episode 5. I'm here today with Joshua Piscator-Lee and Chris Bizzle. How's it going, guys?
Hey.
Whee! Overwatch.
So we have a little bit more of a cozier episode today. Just the three of us. We're going to go ahead and cover a really kind of important issue that we feel about Overwatch, and it's the maps. Guys, just as a quick overview, what do we think of the maps? Josh?
I think they could use work. End of comment. Thank you very much.
Bizzle? That's
I think most of them are pretty good. I enjoy them. Like, they're not perfect, not all of them, but they're good.
Okay. I mean,
End of comment. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Yep,
No,
done.
we'll go into all the maps in detail, at least for a little bit of a discussion point. But personally, I think the maps need a lot of work. I don't think any of them are ready for any kind of competitive or ranked made match system. I mean, I think personally payload maps are a little more balanced than the capture the point maps. I think capture the point maps are all pretty terrible. Can we all kind of agree on that?
Let me make sure I can agree on that.
Capture.
So payload maps, just so everyone can go ahead and be on the same page here, especially the viewers. Our payload maps currently are Gibraltar, Kings Row, Numbani, Dorado, and Hollywood. And then our point capture the point maps are Anubis, Hanamura, and Volska Industries.
Volska.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I do agree with you in that the point capture maps, the game type is not as fun.
No. And
Yeah.
I don't. Is that? See, this is where you get into a little bit of debate too. Is it the game type or is it the map? Is it
I
that
think
game
it's
type
both.
doesn't lend itself to good gameplay for Overwatch?
I think it's both. Just me personally, because whenever you get a neutral objective capture that remains static in any sort of respawn-based FPS game, it encourages really campy gameplay. And the fact that a lot of these capture points on Hanamura, Anubis, and Volskaya are really enclosed, like, we all know the nightmare that is to break into point B on both Hanamura, Anubis, and Volskaya. Like, you just have a triple bastion set up with, like, divas there just constantly rotating through ult, and it is just impossible to get past that point. It doesn't matter if you have, like, Genji ult, you time a Mei ult with it. The fact that their spawn point is so close to the objective itself, and the fact that there are only so many different ways you can come in, it encourages, like, camping the living crap out of your opponents. And to me, that's not fun to watch. That's not fun to play as or against.
Yeah.
I'll actually agree with that.
Sure. I mean, I think those are all great points. All right, so let's jump in. I guess we'll just go capture the point maps real quick since we're on that topic. Temple of Anubis. What do you think?
Well, I'm making sure I got that right.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, we'll sort of describe the maps. Temple of Anubis is the Egypt-looking setting. It's Anubis. It is an Egypt setting. Yeah.
I got that one.
I mean, I think personally, I think it just has the problem of the spawn point is just. I think point A is way too easy to take, and then point B is way too hard to take.
See, actually, I don't think point A is really that easy to take on that one. That's the only one that I will say point A is not as bad, or not like as bad to defend as the other ones.
I would just say the spawn point's so far from point A that and the spawn point for the attacking team is so close. Like it runs into the opposite problem point B, right? Where it's too close to the attacking team, so you can respawn and just automatically get back to that area super quick.
I mean, realistically, would these types of problems change or not be an issue if they were to change spawn points based on capturing point or based on captures?
I think that would help a lot because I feel like the main issue is it's either the distance between your respawn point and the objective itself, or the actual time of the respawn timer. Because on Anubis, when you're on attacking, you are pretty close to it. But then again, a kind of balancing aspect, the downside of that is the fact that unless you're playing somebody with a who can get over walls, whether you're like Hanzo or Genji can walk over, Widowmaker to jump over, or Diva to just fly over. You have to go through that one narrow, very tall choke point. And if you go up against a defending team who has a very good Pharah, a Hanzo, or a Junkrat, there's just no way you're going to get through that as like a ground-based fighter, like a Reaper or somebody like a Tracer. It's like very, very tricky to actually slip through. So I feel like these choke points are like the bigger problem when you have characters like Bastion in the game who can just pretty much look down one corridor, just fire constantly and not be punished for it.
Yeah. And I think Anubis is the perfect example, at least out of all of the maps in general, all 8 maps that we have. I think that's the general problem with Anubis is, of course, the spawn points, but just so many chokes, and everything is a choke point in Anubis, right?
Right.
Like, it's a problem. Should we rate these out of 5? Should we rate each map as out of 5?
Sure, that sounds fun.
All right. So what would we give Anubis?
I'd give it a 1.
I think I'd also give it a 1. I think it's probably the weakest map of the group.
I'm giving it a 2.
All right, Chris Bizzle being the rebel that he is, I'm gonna give it a 2. All right, guys, let's go to Hanamura. I will say Hanamura is probably one of the best looking maps that we have.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
It just looks great. I will say, though, Hanamura has, in my opinion, the biggest problem of wasted space out of any map on Overwatch. They have that beautiful entryway in the kind of the opening town setting in the beginning of the map with very nice overhangs, nice choke points, just a very unique kind of setting. That has no usage in any of the game mode at all. Like there's no reason for the attackers to stay there, and there's no point for the defenders to go there.
Right, because every time we see Hanamura being played, as a defender, you don't really like to push out past the actual archway that leads into point A, unless you're trying to cheese somebody as Junkrat or get like early picks as a Roadhog. But there's no reason to get early picks because they spawn literally right there. So pretty much like you said, it's wasted in the fact that we just run past it. We head all for point A, and once that's done, we never see that beautiful little town again. We just go right into like the dojo area and the little courtyard and that entire little city with all the arcade games and stuff. It's just very underfeatured.
Yeah. Bizzle, what do you think of Hanamura?
I mean, it's pretty.
It is, and we want to see more of it.
The one thing I really like about Hanamura is is the way you can jump over like part of the map when you're going to point B. I really, really like that specific part of it. Hold on. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
On the left side, right?
Yeah, there's like this little edge you can just jump over.
Yeah.
And that makes the game so much better from my perspective because it lends you to do so much more with the map. It's not just a straight in sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with a lot of Overwatch maps right now is that they're just very linear, and the fact that like a lot of rooms and a lot of different areas can only be entered by one door. Like it creates a lot of choke points, like we were talking about with Anubis. I don't think Hanamura is nearly as bad. Like again, there's a lot of different ways to get into that room on point B. But again, it runs into the problem of spawn points being an issue.
Right.
Like honestly, if the spawn point was further back, that back room would actually be probably a high point of the entire map. I think that's
it's so much fun.
I think that room in general, just the room, is actually designed very well. There's a lot of different ways to get in. There's a lot of different high ground, low grounds, all kinds of stuff like that. Very, very cool sort of area. It just is impossible to take because as soon as you kill someone, they come back in like 2 seconds.
Right, and especially like the most disheartening thing for me on Hanamura is, say you go in, you time your Diva, your Lucio ults perfectly, you're like, all right, we got 5 down, and they Mercy ulted, and everything we did just doesn't matter anymore because, I mean, they're right here, and if they die again, it's like they get 3 lives for 1.
Yeah.
So, I always say, if you die in a respawn-based shooter, you should be punished for it. But on Hanamura, you just get free damage off on people, and like you said, you're up in 2 seconds anyway, so who cares about dying?
Yeah. And honestly, I think we timed it once too. If you get a 5-man wipe on Hanamura on point B, it only accounts to like half the point capture in terms of time. that you have alone with the point. Like that's not even a punish, because you just push them right back off. Like it's not even fair. So I guess Hanamura, what are we giving Hanamura?
Give it a 1.5. I like it a little better than Anubis, but I still think it suffers from the same problems.
I'll be a little more generous. I'll give it a 3. Actually, I think it's.
Okay.
I think it's a little better than that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3 as well.
Yeah.
I just sound like a jerk now.
Hey Blizzard, Piscator doesn't like your maps.
And then this map was perfect, so 5 out of 7. I don't know.
5 out of 7. There you go.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Then we have Volskaya Industries. Honestly, I think this map was a little. I didn't run into this map a lot on the ladder on the pool when the beta was up. I think this was like the lowest I ran into out of these 3 maps.
This was definitely... No, this by far is my least favorite map in the entire beta.
Is it really?
It's my least favorite. I mean, I've been trashing on the past 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
you give this a 0?
I don't know. Like it's 1 to 5. I guess I would just have to come out and say that I would give this one a 1 as well.
Sure.
Because I feel like what this map lacks is like a real clear sense of identity, because the beginning part, it's kind of that Hanamura problem where you ignore the entire first beginning and then you go to the wide open point A, and then everybody's just kind of hiding in the buildings, or there's always Widowmakers camping out. And A gets taken almost immediately. But once you actually get into B, that is so hard to take, because there are little areas like closets in the back where bastions can hide. We see so many times people just setting up Torbjorn turrets where you can't even reach them, and it's just such a hard point to break, especially because once you come off of respawn, you have access to all of those little nooks and crannies and those little overhead moving things. And if you get a good bastion, like double bastion setup on it, and you're watching each other's cross points, it's like, it's almost harder to break through than Anubis, I would say.
Okay. Bizzle, what do you think?
The only thing, like, is that I don't actually know. Like, when you said point A, I was like, okay, what is this map? Because this map looks so different from point A to point B. I completely forgot that point A is associated with this map, because I spend so little time on it. Like, you capture point A like in like 5 seconds. It's bad. That is the only problem. It's like the major problem I have with this map. Point B isn't like, I don't think it's as big of a problem as Josh says. That's just my opinion on that. But point A is a travesty.
Yeah, and I think you blow past it so quickly. Like we keep saying, it's a lot of wasted space on the map, and pretty much most of your games when you play in that back half of the map. Okay, so now that Josh kind of put it into perspective, I kind of agree with him. That like, yeah, you're kind of beating your head against the wall for like half the game, or like over half the game. Still, I think it's better than Anubis, just because Volsky, at least you feel like you could at least make some progress. Like there's it's not overly frustrating. Like I don't think it has the same respawn problem as Hanamura and Anubis. I think it's a little better in that regard because the point's a little further. So at least if you get a kill, it feels a little, just from like an emotional perspective, it feels a little better.
You don't feel as emotional.
Yeah, you don't feel like hey, I just killed this guy. He came back. Right?
This is true. I agree.
So yeah, like I don't feel. I think just from an emotional perspective, I think it feels a lot better. I think from a design perspective, yeah, I think it's the weakest of the 3. But I think just from not having that respawn problem, it makes it better than Anubis. Mm-hmm. So what are we giving Volsky?
Well, I gave it a 1.
I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 2.
Well, 1.5.
Ooh,
there we go.
There
compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So far, Temple of Anubis, we all gave 1s. Or no, Bizzle gave it a 2. So,
hey.
So we'll go like wait. So that Bizzle gave it a 2. Hanamura, I think me and Bizzle gave it a 3. Josh gave it a 1.
1.5.
1.5.
I was generous.
And then Volskaya, I gave it a 1. Josh also gave it a 1. Oh no, I gave it a 2. Bizzle gave it a 1.5, and Josh gave it a 1. So it's pretty low scores here for perhaps to the point.
I think it's mostly my problem with the game type, and those problems are just exacerbated by the map design itself.
Sure,
but that's like a completely different discussion, I feel like. But I think those two just kind of make each other's like bad points like shine even more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and honestly, like I think it's interesting just because I don't see Capture the Point being a sort of competitive or kind of esports mode that they sort of push. I don't see that being the game type for esports that Blizzard pushes really hard or the community pushes really hard. I see it being more payload. So in that sense, I mean, yeah, they don't have to be 100% competitive ready.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is not a good start for Blizzard's map design focus if this is what they're going with so far. Of the 3 maps we've looked at so far, it's not that promising.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry guys, so let's go into payload. First off, how do you feel about payload as a map type? Or as a game type?
I think it's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy payload. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great just because it's sort of the thing with Counter-Strike too, where it gives both sides a very definitive reason to make things happen. Like I think that's fundamentally the problem with Capture the Point, where one team is defending, like one team is literally just waiting for another team to come in. Where payload, it's beneficial for you to attack the payload as much as it is for you to sit back. Like you can't sit back on payload, right? You can't wait for them to get into a certain point.
Right.
It's really it really creates action on both sides. That being said, though, first map we have Gibraltar. I think this is one of the worst maps in the game.
Gibraltar. Oh, this one.
Yeah. So Gibraltar.
Oh, watch my Gibraltar. Okay.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gibraltar is the map where the attacking team starts out as a fish in a barrel, where you walk out of your spawn point and it's literally surrounded by buildings in a wide open area.
Right.
And you have to sort of break yourself out and lead the payload, or like even capture the payload. It usually takes forever. And then once you finally get that payload moving, you got to go under like 3 tunnels where there's no way out.
Except there are rooms everywhere.
Yeah, and with rooms everywhere.
See, but I actually enjoy that. Every game I played in this map, every game I played in Gibraltar, I have actually really enjoyed. So I will take a completely opposite opinion of you.
Okay, so my problem with this map is that it's just super defender biased. But Bizzle, go ahead. That's my main problem with this map. So what are you going, Bizzle? Why do you love this map?
Okay, so for one, I think the overhang on it's a really nice point because it enables a lot of fights that you wouldn't see otherwise, with a lot of characters that can go up it, a lot of attacking characters that can go up it versus defending characters you may not be able to go up it, but will, like, I guess, walk up there. And then that middle part is actually really fun for me. The last part of it, I'm still like, I'm going through the map to make sure, or to like watch through everything real quick. Because it's been almost 4 weeks since we played this game now.
Yeah.
I know. But from what I can recall, just about every game I played on this, I've had fun. And that's what I can tell you. If we're talking esports perspective, I'm not sure how we're doing that one. But from a fun perspective, I think it's good.
All right, Bizzle likes to be punished and beaten. Josh, you're the deciding vote. Do we love this map? Do we hate this map? What do you got?
I think if you're pitting 2 good teams against each other, I'm totally with Chris on this one, in that it is very defender biased. Because, like you said, once you spawn, you're staring, you're fish in a barrel. Like, that gate opens wide open. They have all these little vantage points in which they can hide, and there's nothing more frustrating than you take a step out and immediately you just get dropped by 3 Hanzos. It's like, what? That's the last thing you want for to happen in any sort of video game, just to feel absolutely helpless and frustrated, because then you're not having fun.
Yeah. Have you guys? Time out. Have you guys ever played Sudden Attack?
No.
Dude, Sudden Attack is a free-to-play Korean FPS where everyone just, like, knows those maps so well and knows the spawn points. So there's points in time where like you'll die and someone will know your next spawn point and just literally camp your spawn point. So as soon as you come up, you just get sniped in the head. And like that's the kind of problem that we're talking about here with Gibraltar. You have a rock. You walk out, and your only cover is a rock. You have a big rock in front of your spawn point. That's it. That's all you got.
Right, and on top of that, even if you make it past that rock and that first little wide open area in front of the main gate, like you jump into that room. Like how many times have we jumped in there and all of a sudden you hear you just get melted by 6 Symmetra turrets? It's so dumb. Like even if you get to that one little refuge that you have available to you, you run in, you immediately get melted by Symmetra, and then now she gets to ult farm and drop a teleporter right there for you to just get constantly spanked and bent over at your spawn point over and over again. And not just that, if you actually manage to get it out, the distance between your spawn point and the first checkpoint that the payload has to reach is so far that you're pretty much forced to play a Symmetra and farm for a teleporter, or else you're just never going to get to that first checkpoint. It's just so easy for defenders to keep you back if they play it properly with the right comp.
I mean, but I'm watching Fish Stick Tournament right now, right? And I'm watching a team attack this thing, and they got to that first checkpoint in what, like 2 minutes? Like, it was not that bad. There were multiple fights everywhere. It was not just a big like clusterfuck of people. Like it was just like there was a bunch of things going on with it. So I mean, I don't agree with you on this one.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine. I mean, like, and Dylan Pepidus is in the chat. He's talking about how the attack can see the defense set up. If you go on the one side of the spawn, you can go ahead up top and see what their sort of setup is, which is fine. My only point is like, even if I know where someone is, it's not like I can go ahead and, avoid, like, there's just not enough in my opinion, there's not enough cover and there's not enough sort of options for me to navigate through that area to go ahead and deal with the problems even though I know they're there. Like, I could see the Widowmaker from across the map. I know she's there. I know she's waiting. Problem is, how am I going to get over there? Or how am I going to even get a shot off while I have everything else on me? That's the only problem that I see with this map. I do think that the map gets better later on. Like, as soon as you get past sort of the halfway point, where it starts to open up into once you get into the industrial building, and then get into that back half of the map into the town, I think those are great parts of the map. I just think the beginning part of the map is so bad that it ruins the experience of the rest of the map.
Right, I find myself like really short on time after you even get to the first checkpoints, because a lot of times you get there with like 3 seconds to spare, and now you have 2 minutes and 3 seconds to push to the next one.
Yeah.
And like that middle area, I think it's a lot of fun to play that middle area because there's a lot of little snipers nests in addition to just a more close quarters feel.
Yeah.
So things like Mei, Genjis go absolutely crazy in that area, but you just have so little time to work with a lot because of how long it takes to get from original spawn to the first checkpoint. But then again, Bizzle, you brought up a great point in that, I mean, it's not impossible that a lot of teams have just blasted through the first area, and I think that's something that I've experienced too. If the defending team is just not prepared, have the wrong comp, or just really bad, then you can just blast through, and then you can reach checkpoint you want with like 7 minutes to spare. But I think a lot of times it's just very, very defender biased if they're playing it right.
Yeah, I think all of it goes to if they're playing it right? Like, if it depends on what team knows what they're doing. All of this stuff is pretty much assuming that both teams are even, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's very defender biased, and I think like I said, getting to that first, even once you get past that fish in the hole area or fish in a bucket area, like moving that payload into that first checkpoint and trying to get through that tunnel with all the rooms, and like just there's so many ways that the defenders can come at you, and there's only one way you can go with the payload. Like it creates a very strong chokehold that's hard to break. Once they get you into that tunnel, like you can't move that payload if they play it outright.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, what are we giving Gibraltar?
I would give it a 2.5 out of 5.
I'm going with a 4.
All right,
wow.
I'm gonna give it a 2. So we have a split on that one, but Bizzle likes that map. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and play Bizzle on Gibraltar. He'll go ahead.
Yo, I can't wait to play against you when this map comes up and just absolutely wreck you from defense side.
Alright, we'll do it. As soon as it comes back
I'm gonna eat my words so hard. I'm gonna lose once and be like, oh yeah, my mouse was broken. I'm like,
shots fired. All right, guys.
I miss this game so much.
I know.
I'm shitting on the mouse, but I love this game.
All right, guys. We have King's Row next. What are we gonna do with King's Row? I actually really like this map.
I like the beginning a lot.
I think it's terrible. No, I'm fucking with you.
All right, guys. So, Josh, what do you love about the beginning of this map?
Taking a more different direction, I just like the aesthetics of the map. I think it's a really cool environment. Immediately, you open up into this like little tight city. You have the theater in the beginning, and then you have all these little dark rooms. I think immediately as you spawn into that map, it's just close quarters actions all over the place, and I think that's a lot of fun. And then as you go through, there's a very defined area where combat takes place, and as somebody who's like an action junkie who likes getting into the fray, I really appreciate that aspect, the fact that it's more closed off. But that kind of goes away as you get into like the final payload push when you get into that wide warehouse where you have all those little choke points again. So I like the pace of the map in the beginning, and I feel like the end of the map is like my biggest problem, probably one of my biggest problems of the game.
See, I don't have a problem with the choke points at the end. I have a problem with the grates that you can fall into at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you guys haven't played this map, the end of the game takes place.
They're so random.
Well, like a smelting factory, right? Like it's like a smelting sort of industrial kind of factory, and so it's not like you have to jump across points. There's just grates in the floor at certain points. So if you're trying to walk like close to a wall, you will literally fall through the floor and die.
I think that's so unnecessary.
Yeah, it just made no sense to me.
Right.
It's just kind of the first time you play it, you're like, how did I die? I have no idea. And then you realize there's grates in the floor, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess that's the thing. And especially again in that close quarters combat, you're not necessarily paying attention to grates on the floor. Mm-hmm. Like when you're maneuvering and trying to 1v1 someone, like that's the last thing you're thinking about.
Exactly.
Bizzle, what do you think of this map?
I mean, it's good. I like the pace of it. I'm trying to like catch up and like make sure I'm not like being an ass here. But like no, I like how it looks and how it functions and like it overall.
Yeah.
There's not a lot more to add for me to add to it. I haven't had the crate problem or the great problem.
The great problem.
The great problem. It must be a great problem.
Dude, Dylan's in the chat. He's saying synergy for Winston's ulti. Just shove them to their death.
I mean, it works really well, but just being aware of that grate actually being there. I think it makes sense towards the end once you actually get onto the final platform. Like, that should be like a chaotic, like precarious area to attack. But like on the way over there by the room with like the health pots and stuff, it's like, dude, the last thing, like you said, I need to be worried about shooting people in the face. I don't need to be worried about gravity right now.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be a shift of focus in that area.
Yeah. It's just
a
weird map.
The one problem that I do have with this map is that at the end when you're trying to defend, if I'm not mistaken, this is a map where you spawn as a defender if really close to the payload if it's close to the end. Like ridiculously close to the payload.
But the thing is that I will say in defense of this map is like, sure you get pushed in pretty, like you spawn pretty close to the payload, but I think it's hard to defend that point. I think this is one of the easier maps to go ahead and push the payload, push it like into that grate area. So like dying pretty often is pretty normal, and so I think like in order to make the map balanced, you need to be pretty close to that payload, at least in my opinion. I think this one has a more attacker bias.
No, I might actually have to agree with you on that one. Like, I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
and like my biggest problem with King's Row, like I said at the beginning, was the ending part where I feel like if the attacking team isn't playing it properly, then it's too easy for people to set up turrets and stuff to just hold down that last point. But then again, I just realized like the room focus, it goes from like the hallway and then it just blooms open.
Yeah.
And then you have all the crates on the right, all the crates on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really easy for a Winston or a Genji or even a Reaper to teleport back there and get backline access almost immediately. So yeah, even though the spawn point is really close, you're almost at a disadvantage coming out because you're not close enough to where you can just jump right on like in Hanamura where you can just literally jump and you're on the hill again. You have to like come out through a very defined area and Ferris can just wreck you or Junkrats can just target that area and just bombard it constantly. So like if attackers play it right, like that push from the gates all the way to the last platform can be pretty fast.
Yeah. Pretty good though. So what are we giving King's Row, guys?
I give it a 4.
I'm also gonna give it a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Ooh. So we like King's Row.
I think Bizzle just doesn't like payload.
Maybe he's a capture the point boy.
I guess
No,
so.
I enjoy
Freaking casual.
payload. Another map rating was a 4.
All right, guys. Nimbani.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
Yeah, Gibraltar. He
Yeah.
gave Gibraltar a 4.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Nimbani. What do you think of Nimbani? Bizzle. Thoughts on Nimbani?
You know, I think this is the map I played the very least and the least
too.
memorable map of this entire one.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I don't. There's nothing really in this map that stuck out to me.
I think it's pretty much, yeah, like Bizzle said. Like every time this map came up in rotation, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a map," and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think anything bad of the map. I just think there's nothing special about it. Like, it's okay.
It's the same thing the entire way.
Yeah. It's really not that unique of a map. It's real basic. There's nothing overly special about it.
There's some nice high points for sniping. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some nice high points. It's very linear. Like this, your strategy doesn't have to change throughout the entire map. Like it could literally, you could literally be the same strategy and just try it over and over again throughout the entire map.
It's got a Jeep.
It's got a Jeep. Yeah, it does have a Jeep.
Yeah, 5 out of 5. It's got a Jeep, boys.
It's got a Jeep.
I mean, like, that was the first thing I saw when I like went to this map. I was like, oh, it's got a car. Okay. I guess we're pushing a car.
Exactly.
You have a payload.
But Chris brings up a really good point in the fact that your playstyle remains static throughout the entire progression of the map because aside from the 2 objective points where it opens up a bit, it's just pretty much like one long hallway. And there aren't really a lot of flank points. There are like Overwatch points where you can like get up and try and snipe
Overwatch
people,
points.
but ha 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 ha. I'm here all night, well, up until about 8 p.m., but it's pretty much it's like one long hallway with like little areas up and down, and most people don't play them because you're just so wide open and there aren't really any areas for you to duck back in, duck back out with a good line of sight. So it's pretty it's a flat map. It's like not very dynamic.
No, not at all. That's why honestly I didn't run into it that much in the map pool either. It wasn't like it came up that often. And I think that's mainly because it's just a very, like, I think Blizzard kind of realized, hey, this map's not that fun. We should take this out of the rotation. But yeah, I mean, that's really all we have to say about Nimbani, right? Like, that's nothing really else to say.
Much. Trying to think of any, like, are we missing something? Because I feel like we're just calling it super boring.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks because like looking over all the stuff. I mean, it's pretty, like, sure. And it's some of the parts are really pretty, but
there's a lot of Doomfist references in there.
Yeah,
I don't understand that reference.
There's Doomfist is the guy from the cinematic that the kid steals his glove.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah, so there's like Doomfist banners all over this map. But yeah, there's nothing really much to say. What are we giving it?
I think I give it a 2.
I'll give it a 2 just to.
Hey, I'm going with 2 too.
Hey, we have a
unanimous
consensus.
agreement.
We have a consensus
Finally.
too for Nimbani. Yeah, pretty much. All right, guys. What we have Dorado. We have Dorado next. I actually really like Dorado.
Me too.
What do you think of Dorado?
Let me make sure I know what Dorado
It's
is.
the Spanish one. It's in Spain.
The Spanish.
Oh, it's in Mexico, actually.
Oh damn it! It's in Mexico.
Come back.
I thought it felt more Spanish to me too.
Yeah.
Because of the architecture, right, Chris? That's why you said Spanish.
Exactly. It feels like it's Spanish, but no. Watching the tournaments I've watched, Dorado just seems like it's honestly we're getting to the two best maps here in my opinion. So we're getting to Dorado and Hollywood.
I like Dorado. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Dorado I think has a lot of varying playstyles, has a lot of different areas, like areas that aren't even capture points or aren't even objective points that are like really interesting. Like I don't remember the fountain area being an objective point, but I still think that's a really interesting area to fight around.
Oh, the little plaza?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Right? There's so many just very nice areas throughout the entire map. Like they're not limited to checkpoints. They're just all over the place that are great sort of little areas and skirmish areas.
And I think that's what I like about Dorado a lot. Is the fact that the biggest problem that we had with what was the map that we were just talking about? See, this is a problem with maps when we were just talking about it, and like Nimbani. Yeah. The problem with that one was your playstyle remained the same throughout all of it. You're going to be playing generally the same strategy. But with Dorado, it starts off very vertical, and then it opens up a bit, and then it opens up a lot more, and then it gets like very cramped again, and then it gets open again, and then it gets cramped, and then it's constantly changing, whether it's like from on the y-axis vertically or like horizontally it widens up. But the fact that you're constantly having to switch out your heroes to play the most optimal playstyle in comp, and the fact that you all of a sudden, all right, you're going to be close quarters all of a sudden, and then you're going to be trying to pick people off from a distance. I really like that kind of dynamic shift as you progress through the map. So that's something that I really enjoy, and why Dorado's probably top 3 in my Overwatch beta maps.
Yeah, I'd agree with most of what you said.
The only bad thing I really have to say about Dorado is it suffers from the same thing that modding is, where like it's just not memorable in architecture or anything like that. Like it's just a boring like look of a map.
I would disagree with you on that. I think it has some very nice architecture. Like I think there's a lot of, to me, a map is defined by its sort of call out points. So like fountains, statues, things that you can like actively call out on the map and call out like objective points to say like, hey guys, they're by the fountain, they're by the statue, they're by the Jeep, right? Like stuff like that. We're like that. Like to me, that's a defining point of the map that makes it memorable. And I think Dorado has that. I think it's very memorable in that sense. I think the problem, honestly, is that it's at night. It's a night map, so it's kind of dark and it makes the colors kind of muted. I think it could benefit being in the day.
I
actually don't have a problem with it being very dark. Because I feel like the biggest problem, like with maps, the main thing you should be worried about is whether or not the characters actually stand out against the background. Because a big problem that I've had with another franchise, the Call of Duty, the Infinity War titles, the Modern Warfare series, is that especially when you're playing multiplayer, given the fact that everything in that game series was gray, you just couldn't pick out people. Like, I don't care if it's dark, but the fact that you're actively able to pick out, oh, Pharah's right there, Roadhog is right there, even with the darkened environments, I think makes the design fine. But I know there are some people out there that just don't really like dark maps and prefer them bright all the time. But honestly, as somebody who comes from shooters, I don't find too much of a problem with the lighting.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm just saying that may be a reason why it just doesn't stand out to a lot of people, just because the colors are a little more muted.
Right.
Considering like all of the other maps and how bright and colorful they are.
It's true.
It just sort of just kind of stands out in a bad way.
Dull.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and that's my only issue. That just looks dull. But, you know, all they need to do is, like, get Blizzard to just come out and, like, bring out some sun. Problem solved.
Make it daytime. We're done.
Yeah, make it daytime.
That'd be
We're
sick,
good.
actually.
We had a 5 out of 5 times. Or we got a 5 out of 5 map.
What would be cool is if we did some dynamic lighting, where at the beginning of the map, it is light, and then the further you get, it gets darker. As the timer counts down, the sun goes down. You can play through a sunset. There you go.
Be interesting. It's all cinematic and stuff.
Yeah, they're working on cinematics.
Right.
They have that new studio. They have that new Activision studio working on Call of Duty Cinematic Universe.
Oh boy, are we excited for that?
All right, guys. What are we giving Dorado? I'm giving it a 5. I love Dorado.
4.5.
I'm going 4.
Okay. So overall, we like Dorado. Bizzle thinks it's dark, but otherwise...
Top one so far.
Bizzle thinks it's dark.
It's scary. I feel like I'm going to get mugged.
It's brooding. It's Batman. Its parents are dead.
It's a bad neighborhood, man. It's a bad neighborhood.
Parents are dead? Are we talking Gotham City now?
No, I just said it's dark. It's Batman. It's
hold on. Sorry, I'm watching a video of this thing right now, and somebody just shot a pinata. 4.5.
Yeah.
Shot a pinata?
Yeah, there's
you can shoot a
pinatas on that
pinata.
map.
You got to link this.
There's pinatas on that map.
Are you serious? You can shoot a pinata?
Yeah, it's like it's hanging in one of the buildings. All right, guys. Last
Literally,
map. We've actually gone through all the maps here. The last map we have is Hollywood. I think Hollywood's the best map in this game currently.
Same. Agreed.
100%.
Okay, so why do we like Hollywood? Because we're all from LA.
Are we all?
Actually,
really?
I am from LA. Well, I'm a different LA, but...
Oh, yeah, he's from Louisiana.
Same thing.
Hold on.
For people wondering, too, I just got a message, why am I wiping my nose? I actually have a cold. So,
why? I feel like that's not too hard to figure out on your own. Whoever asked that question.
Someone messaged me on Twitter. Why do I keep wiping my nose? I have a cold. So yeah, I'm a cold sick boy. But yeah, guys, Hollywood. Not just because I live in LA, but I think Hollywood has the best example of how a map can have options around its central points. Even just activating the payload in that area, there's so much going on. There's a wide open area where you have to capture the payload or like activate the payload, but around that there's so many different sniper points and high points. There's stairs into a building. There's different ways to get around that point. It's and honestly, that design philosophy is carried out throughout the entire map.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
So Bizzle, what do you like about this map?
Okay, I'm gonna go for pure aesthetics for the time being, and then I'll go into a more complex in a second. But from pure aesthetically, it just is a beautiful, beautiful map. It starts out and it has a very it starts out in a very like a very studio-esque area, and then it goes into a very Wild West theme, and it changes so much, but it changes in such a good way that I love it aesthetically. And
I think it all fits the theme. I think it all fits the theme very well. Like, this is probably the best themed map that we've gotten from it so far. But yeah, go ahead and get more in depth, Bizzle. What do you got?
I'll give you in depth in a second. Go ahead and go skip me for a second.
Josh, what do you like?
I'm definitely gonna add a +1 to the aesthetics because it reminded me just immediately of the shuttle tour at Universal Studios in Hollywood.
Yeah. Like
when you go through that Wild West area, like especially, I feel like I'm in Back to the Future when I play that map. Like I'm going through all the Back to the Future movies, and that just appeals to that little like cinematic dork in me, and I have a lot of fun playing through it. But for more of a gameplay standard, like you said, Chris, it's about having those options and about a lot of different strategies working, and that kind of constantly changing dynamic organic play environment is something that I really enjoy. And I think that really adds to the pacing of this map as well, because this map plays incredibly fast and incredibly furious, especially when you get to the Wild West area. Like, we see all these old Western movies where they're these crazy, like, 310 to Yuma shootouts, and you get that feel when you're in those, like, tight little saloons and those, you're hiding behind hay bales and stuff. You actually feel like you're in the Wild West and you're just duking it out with the other people. And even when you get into, like, the back sound stages and the warehouses, the play style shifts a lot too. So I really like that you have to be on your feet constantly and you have to be looking a lot of different areas, and the pacing of it is just what really makes this map like really good for me.
Yeah, it's really fast paced, and I really like that as well.
Yeah. And I think we've been talking so much about spawn points and how spawn points are too far, too close. I think this map hits it perfectly, where both sides have a very equal spawn point throughout the entire map, where you don't feel hindered either way.
Right.
And yeah, it's a fantastic map.
If I'm not mistaken, don't spawn points change on this map too?
Yes. Very a little closer actually. Throughout the entire map, they get a little more. Yeah, they close in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
that's right.
It's a very good map. Bizzle, what, ready to get in depth?
The in-depth analysis for me is very non-in-depth actually.
You set us up for this grandiose
sick build up. 10 out of 10.
No, like, I'm watching a playthrough of it right now, and that's like why I was like waiting on things. But realistically, it's just I think I've like covered it throughout the discussion. The spawn point changing is really nice for me. It is, and on top of that, the spawn points having their own sort of unique feel to them. Like, it feels really good to like spawn in like a movie theater. And I'm like, oh well, that's cool. Let's go outside and go kill some people, right? So, and then like how it plays overall, just like the fast-paced nature of it, even getting towards the end where it's a very tough area, but it's not that bad. It doesn't seem that bad for either the defender nor the attacker.
Yeah.
So
it's just, it creates very tense situations, without being like without either side feeling like they're gonna beat their head against the wall and like getting frustrated. It's just very tense, right? So like you understand that one mistake could go ahead and lose you the game, which I think creates a really cool dynamic, and which all these maps should be creating, but just don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. How do we feel about Hollywood? I'm getting a 5.
Perfect. 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
5 out of 5 for sure.
We're getting a 5.
5 out of 7.
5 out of 7. Perfect score. All right, guys. So we agree that Hollywood and Dorado are probably the two best maps that we've gotten, right? Mm-hmm. What do we feel like those are even esports ready, or do those still need work? Are those competitively ready?
I think they're competitively ready, personally.
I think so. Like, given the current state of the game, as much as we can possibly glean about the competitive environment, I think they're the best ones to roll with for now. And then more problems will become apparent as the scene develops.
Yeah. And so how do we feel in terms of Blizzard's... Remember, guys, this is the first time Blizzard's making FPS maps. And so, I mean, we've seen them make StarCraft 2 maps. We've seen them make, Warcraft maps. We've seen them make all kinds of different other competitive maps. But, what do we feel about all of these as a whole? I feel like we've hit a spectrum of really bad to really good. Like, what, as a whole, do we have confidence in Blizzard's map making ability? Especially if they're not giving us community tools.
I think they're gonna get a lot better. I mean, look at StarCraft 2 for example, right? Like, I know that they've been doing those kind of maps for a while, but StarCraft 2's opening maps were kind of absolutely atrocious.
Dude, you don't like Steps of War?
I played Zerg? No. Okay. But look at from that perspective, and look at where they went in a year and a half. Their StarCraft 2 maps, I went to some things that I absolutely loved. So yes, absolutely I do.
Josh, what do you think?
I think the fact that we have maps like Dorado and Hollywood before the game, like almost a year before the game actually releases, is a really good sign of things to come. And we talked about this in a previous episode, is that how Overwatch should take the direction of new maps instead of new heroes in order to keep the game fresh. I have a lot of faith in Blizzard, especially because they have all these other shooter esports to look at and draw influence from. And I think the bigger picture or the bigger question is more like, what more game types are we going to see? Because if we see things like capture the flag, things like that, then the maps will become more tested. But I have faith.
Yeah, I agree. To touch on something Bizzle said, yes, StarCraft 2 did go ahead and evolve rather quickly, and we now have fantastic maps. But remember, that was with the use of a lot of community tools and a lot of community feedback from the Liquid map builders and the community map builders, and sort of working hand in hand with Blizzard, and Blizzard was able to go ahead and see that if they don't give us community tools for Overwatch, they're not going to have that feedback, or as they're going to have feedback, but it's not going to be as sort of in your face about like, hey, here's a really good map, go ahead and copy this design, look at this, look at that. It's going to be all, you know what I mean, it's a little less of a thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd love to, and going back to what Josh was saying, I would love to see new map types or, you know, sort of game types. But I know they said at BlizzCon, or it might be after BlizzCon, that capture the flag, which is something I really want to see, wasn't possible or wasn't working very well because, like, heroes like Tracer could just kind of, like, blink all the way across the map with the flag. Like, I've just been curious to see what's going on with what they come up with, especially with how unique these heroes are. Because again, they have to be balanced. You can't just pull generic archetypes into Overwatch without a little bit of an issue. Fair enough. All right, guys. Any last words on maps? Anything we want to see? Anything?
It's a good start. It's a really good start. And I hope we were able to provide good data to Blizzard. God, please move the spawn points, or just change how capture the point where it's like, oh my god.
I think we're all in agreement, right? The biggest problem with a lot of these maps is just the spawn points.
Right.
I think spawn points, and then for capture the point, I think maybe where the points are located, right? Yep. Like Hanamura, if you moved the spawn point back a little bit, created a new area, like just kind of a blank canvas area, and then moved point A to the town, I think that's a better use of area, and I think that's a better area for a point, at least in my opinion.
Makes it to where you're having to walk so far to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather sit there for 5 seconds and not do, like, have a 5-second longer respawn than to have to trudge through everything.
Yeah. So yeah, that's actually a good point too. Josh, would you rather see longer spawn timers or further spawn points?
Longer spawn timers for sure, because it's frustrating to have to, quote unquote, I guess, backtrack.
Yeah.
Kind of be a word. Like you said, trudging through is not fun. In addition to some heroes just inherently cover distance a lot better. So if you take somebody like a Tracer who can zip through, like, it's not the kind of hero that you're gonna be 1v5ing people with. So you're incentivized to pick like the wrong heroes just to get there in time. So longer timers.
Bizzle, you're in agreement?
Yep. Well, I made the point, so yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
I hope you agree with yourself, buddy.
Hey man, we've had our share of disagreements today. But all right, guys. Any last words on maps? Anything so far?
That's it for me.
I think we're okay.
All right. Awesome. All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Overtalk is also again a weekly show that we go ahead and do here. Go ahead, let us know in the comments below or wherever you're watching this to go ahead and see how you feel. Let us know if we covered anything you want to cover. Next week we actually start a 4-week process of going over hero types and sort of how they fit in the meta, how we feel about each hero within their own roles. So next week is going to be talking about attacker heroes, right? So please tune in for that. But sit back, relax, and enjoy the content. But thanks, guys.
Oh, actually, I want to say one more thing real quick.
What's up?
Okay. So, on the topic that you said to comment, please do that. We do listen to literally everything you guys tell us.
We do.
That is why I currently own a better microphone, because someone is like, your mic is absolutely atrocious. Go buy a new one. And thus I did.
He did buy a new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do listen to a lot of feedback, guys. Anything you comment, anything you tweet at us, send us an email, all that stuff. We go ahead and do listen. We adjust our schedules accordingly, and in some cases adjust our equipment accordingly. But yeah, we do listen.
Yeah.
So please take the time and know that we're gonna go ahead and take the time to take that feedback in. But yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next week.
All right, till next week.